Good morning on this fine Portland day. First of all, our schedule this morning will include an hour of meditation, a little less than an hour maybe. At least if you think like that, you'll sit longer. And following the meditation, we'll take a break and then come back and have an open conversation about the Dharma and about your questions and issues. So I want to say a couple of things about our first step, which is the practice of going for refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and secondly, giving rise to the awakened mind, which we summarize in the word bodhicitta, awakened mind. Now we put a lot of emphasis on the importance of holding the value of others as more important than ourselves. And we are encouraged to hold that view of the primacy of others. A few weeks ago, during a difficult time for one individual, this individual who is not here, alive and well, but not here, asked, don't we ever get to practice for ourselves? It was a great question. And so I thought maybe we could embrace that question as a theme for this morning. Don't we ever get to practice for ourselves? So first, you are all aware that we are going to have a guest in Khenpo Rinpoche, or more full name, Khenpo Lodro Dunya Rinpoche. He will be coming in a few weeks. And one thing I would like to suggest that you notice about Khenpo Lodro Dunya Rinpoche, he is always happy. you cannot blow the candle out, no matter how hard you blow. And there are many stories around him, of course, which we don't need to go into today. But suffice it to say, I think if you asked him, he would say, I never practice for myself. So one might naively ask the question, then how come you look so good? So I think to start with, we'll just let that hang for a while. And we'll begin by reciting the refuge and bodhicitta prayer 3 times together. Summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. It is safe to say that every one of us from time to time experiences an overwhelmingly busy mind, busy enough such that we recognize our own confusion. And we do not generally take that recognition as a gift. Our practice of meditation is meant to take us meant to provide tools that we might be able to rise above the confusion and rise above the causes of our confusion. So that we might be able to settle the mind, allow the mind to settle, and fully experience all of our sensations, emotional states, positive and negative, pleasant and unpleasant, to experience these things without attachment and without aversion. So our practice of calm abiding, or Jine as we call it in Tibetan, will provide these tools. And just before we step into that, also a word of encouragement. Whether you are a Buddhist or not, you are a human being. And so day and night, you experience your body, whether it's pleasant or not, the thoughts and feelings that flow continuously from the mind. In order to not be ruled by all of those experiences, we need to develop a skill, and that skill is the ability to rest our awareness right on the experiences as they unfold. So we can start where we often start, but just to kindle within you a sense of interest, curiosity. We can bring our awareness to the movement of our breath. And of course, it's important that we're breathing. And there is always a subtle or gross level of experience happening. Generally, we pay almost no attention to it. But if we are to benefit ourselves, we need to be able to rest our awareness on that experience of breathing, for example, even for a very short time, a few seconds. We need to get good at placing the awareness on the experience and then relaxing. So in this first session, if you can make an effort in this direction, that will be helpful for the remainder of the morning, along with a few added recommendations along the way. So first, bring your awareness of the breath into your kind of working consciousness. Place that awareness on the experience of breathing. In the manner of noticing the experience, just the noticing. And when the mind is on the breath, then relax. The nice thing is, when you're relaxed, the breath takes care of itself. No effort required. But in the long run, we want to discover the nature of the experiences that we're having and the nature of the mind that experiences those things. And in order for that to happen, we must become good at going very slow and placing the mind on the experience again and deeply relaxing with the mind there, resting on the experience of the breath, moving back and forth. If you get distracted, you need to start again fresh. And here is an interesting key for starting again fresh. You know you've been distracted. And so just before you start again, give rise in your own mind the recollection that I am engaging in this meditation practice for the benefit of others. Really, it's okay to be an extremist about this. You can say only for the benefit of others, if you're up for it. And having given rise to that fresh aspiration and motivation, then you begin again. Rest your awareness on the breath. Rest your awareness on the experience of breathing effortlessly. So in that way, you can use those tools back and forth, slowly, easily, ideally with no conceptual component whatsoever.
By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state.
So we're going to take a little break now and probably take about 15 minutes or so for this many people to use the restroom. And when we're done, we'll come back and ring the bell and have our open conversation. Not at the end.
Yeah, we have some now. A couple things. It seems like T has moved downstairs, so that's cool. We'll have our break downstairs. And there are 4 bathrooms in the building, so some people don't know about the second one downstairs. They're all open. There are some announcements about upcoming classes.
I know that Jeff and Sally's class is coming up starting a week from tomorrow, I think, for 5 consecutive Monday evenings. And I wondered, Sally, if you could tell us the essence of the class and who should come to this class? Who is this for?
And you need a microphone, so you can use that one. Thank you. It's Sally.
Thank you. Yes, my husband Jeff and I will be kind of peer facilitating this class for the 5 Mondays of April. From time to time, I don't know about you, but we find that we have the tendency to turn our practice into just one more thing on the to-do list, one more obligation or should in our lives. And when we fall into that place, our view gets very small and tight, and our practice is dry and uninspiring. And over the years, we found that the best thing we can do when that happens is work on relating to the unbounded view of things, the greater and more profound sense of reality that exists in our practice, whether that's relating to a sense of our own and others' Buddha nature, or challenging ourselves to imagine how things would unfold in our lives if we actually believed that this life was not our only shot. We're surrounded by these messages in the Dharma, and it's easy to just ignore them and let them go by. So these 5 weeks are really about pushing ourselves through contemplation and study and caring practice to try to have a little experience, a little taste of what it feels like to actually relate to that unbounded view. So I think the class could be appropriate for anyone who ever finds themselves in that state of their practice, feeling small and tight and dead, and would like some support in nurturing some life back into it.
Also, just letting people know that the last time Sally and Jeff led a series, it was really, we got feedback of incredibly helpful to people's practice. So really consider coming. There's one need for volunteer this week, Tuesday morning, 10 to noon. We need 2 very strong backs, just 2 people with strong backs to help unload something quite heavy for the HVAC system. So if you are that, please talk to Willa. Will you raise your hand, Willa? And thank you. I don't think it'll take a long time, just 10 to 12, Tuesday morning. That's all I know. Let's have tea. Oh, Phil.
One more announcement. I know that there are some who were disappointed that they didn't get to participate in the Over the Top campaign. And that in January, we announced that we had gotten to the summit. And those of you who are hikers are probably familiar with that phenomenon where you get to the summit and you realize it's a false summit. And looming ahead of you is a hillock. And you think, on the one hand, you think, oh shit, there's more to go. And on the other hand, you think, oh, now I get that experience again of summiting. So what we have learned from John Jennings and Jeff Gunn is that, surprise, there remains work to be done and expenses to be borne in phase 1. The HVAC has things that need to be worked out. The carpentry is needed on the railings. There is a further list of things yet to do. So the good news is that for those of you who did not experience the joy of participating in that campaign to get over the top, there's still time. So please help out.
Tea time. If you're a new person, please feel free to come up and say hi to any of us or introduce yourselves. And Lama Michael says